This courseware video will explore the options and capabilities of the display view in more depth. The display views are the region of the Fusion interface where we see images, either the images produced by tools in our composition, or previews and images from the file system. To see the output of a tool in the display view, we can use a variety of techniques. The most common is to simply click on the tool and then drag it into the desired display view. You can also select a tool and then click on its tool header in the controls and drag it into the view. Note how the label in the display view changes to the name of the tool that is currently displayed. Clicking on that label actually selects the displayed tool if it is not already selected, and if the tool is panned out of the view, the flow will jump to make the tool visible. You could also right-click on the tool and select from the View On menu. Note that this menu is also available by right-clicking on the control header, as well as the name of the tool in either the timeline or the spline views. We'll return to the flow editor. You can also use keyboard shortcuts to toggle the views. 1 for the left display, 2 for the right, and additional numbers will be assigned to floating views or hardware frame buffers as they become available. Finally, clicking on the little indicators at the bottom of a tool's tile will toggle display of the tool in the views. As you can see, there is no shortage of ways to view a tool in the display views. Once the image is displayed in the views, we need to be able to zoom in and out and to resize. You can pan the view by clicking on the middle mouse button or scroll wheel and then dragging the mouse. If your mouse has no middle mouse button or you are using a tablet, then hold down the Control and Shift keys and then left click to drag and pan the view. To scale in and out around the center of the view, hold down the Control key and then scroll with the mouse wheel, or press the plus or minus keys on the numeric keypad. You can also scale the view around the mouse pointer's position by holding down the middle mouse button and the left mouse button, then dragging the pointer to the left or to the right. You can also scale around the pointer by fixed amounts by holding the middle mouse button and then clicking once on the left button to zoom in, or once on the right mouse button to zoom out. Of course, you can quickly access several preset scales by clicking on the Scale button in the toolbar and selecting from one of the options in the menu that appears. The Fit button to the right lets you access the Scale to Fit option even faster, or you can use Control F on the keyboard. Control 1 will scale the view back to 100%. You can also load an image into the views, even if it is not in the composition. This is done by right-clicking in the display view and selecting Load from the context menu. Then select the sequence or the still file from the file browser. If the file is a sequence, you will get transport controls that appear in the bottom left or bottom right corner underneath the tool controls. Click on these buttons to play the sequence as quickly as Fusion can load the images from disk and format them for display. This is commonly known as a file sequence preview. While the file sequence preview is active, it will take over the display view, and any tool that was previously displayed will be overridden. To remove the preview and regain control of the view, right-click and select Remove Preview from the context menu. If you select a loader tool or a saver in the flow which has already been rendered, then transport controls will also appear under the tool controls. You can press play here to show a file sequence showing the trimmed clip. If the clip is trimmed, the trimming appears in the slider above the transports. Right-clicking on the slider will display a context menu containing options that can be used to adjust the trimming of the clip. To remove the preview, once again right-click in the view and select Remove Preview. You could also select a different tool. A flipbook preview is a preview created using available memory. You create a preview of a tool by selecting Create Play Preview from the context menu. This displays a render settings dialog that can be used to change options like full size, half size, and whether every frame is rendered or every second or third or fifth frame. You can also display the render settings dialog by holding down the Alt key and dragging into the view. This will create the preview in the selected view. After the preview is created, you can play it using the playback buttons located under the tool controls or by pressing the spacebar while the display view is active. You can also use the Shift space to play backwards and arrow keys to change frames. Remove the preview again using the context menu. For more information about flipbook previews, see the Rendering and Previews chapter of the manual. Sometimes you just want to clear all the views and start over. You can select the None option from the View On menu by right-clicking on any tool and then selecting View On None. Or you can press the tilde key, which is the key to the left of the number 1 and just below the Escape key on North American keyboards. If a tool in the flow is selected when you hit tilde, then all the views are cleared. If you hit the key while a display is active, then only that view is cleared. In addition to the fixed displays at the top of the Fusion interface, you can also create any number of floating views using the Window New View option. These views work exactly as the fixed views do, but they do provide one additional option, which is that you can change them to full screen by right-clicking and selecting full screen from the menu. To return to normal viewing, just right-click again on the full screen view and select full screen to toggle it off. This display can be very handy when using multi-monitor displays, or dual monitors. The display views default to showing a full-color image, or the red, green, and blue channels. You can change the channel displayed by clicking on the Display View toolbar button. If you just click once, then the toggles between the alpha and the color channel. If you click on the arrow next to the button, you will see a full list of available channels, including color, red, green, blue, alpha, depth for the Z buffer. You can also use the keyboard shortcuts R, G, B, A, and Z in order to display the available channels, and then use C to return back to color. You should be aware that the values in the Z buffer channel are not normally intended to be viewed, so they don't usually fall between black and white. Clicking on the Normalize button, which is located right next to the 1-to-1, will remap the colors so that they fall between 0 and 1, which can make the image make a little more sense to the eye. Normalize is also handy for seeing the true range of high dynamic range or film images. We'll set the display back to color. Sometimes all you want to do is prevent a view from updating until you are ready. You can use the Lock button in the toolbar to lock the view, or press the Ctrl-L keyboard shortcut. For example, if a color correction is particularly slow, you might want to lock the view using the Lock button, then select the color corrector and change the value of the correction. Wait for the render to complete, and then once you know it's complete, use Ctrl-L or unlock the toolbar button in order to force the update. Some tools will display an additional toolbar when they are selected. For example, selecting the Polyline tool will display the Polyline toolbar along the side. These toolbars have options specific to the selected tool. Text, polylines, trackers, and grid warp tools are a few examples of the tools that will display toolbars. If you right-click on either toolbar, either the toolbar that runs vertically or the horizontal display view toolbar, then you will see a context menu that allows you a variety of options for changing the way those buttons are displayed. Some people prefer to view their icons as icons and text labels, while others prefer to see the text labels only. You can also change the icon size using the Icon Size menu. Just change back to icons only and return to the normal size. Normally, the display view will show controls for the selected tools in the composition. If multiple tools are selected, then the controls for all of those tools are shown. Sometimes you just want a view to be clean, though, showing only the image. In that case, you can use the Show Controls button in the Display View toolbar, or the Ctrl-K keyboard in order to turn off the display of controls in that view. For example, here in the right view, we no longer see the polyline controls. To re-enable the display of those controls, we simply hit Ctrl-K or re-enable the Display toolbar button. Click once in the flow in order to deselect the tools and turn off the display of all controls. The display view normally shows transparent portions of the image with a checker underlay. This helps you to understand which parts of your image are transparent and which are just black. You can disable display of the underlay by selecting the checker underlay button in the toolbar. The checker underlay works best when you are working with an image which has been pre-multiplied, where the pixels in the color channels have been multiplied by the alpha channel so that anywhere the alpha is transparent, it's automatically black. If you view an image that's pre-multiplied, where the color channels where it's transparent may not be completely black, then you may have trouble working with the alpha channel. One thing you can do is turn on the alpha overlay option, which will display the alpha channel overlaid over top of the RGBA channels. And what that gives you is the ability to see the alpha channel as well as the colors. To turn off the alpha overlay, simply right-click again and select Options, Alpha Overlay. When you are zoomed in very close to an image, Fusion will interpolate between the pixels to show the smoothest possible result. This can make it difficult to see the individual pixels, so you can turn this option off by clicking on the SMR or Smooth Resize button in the toolbar. This will display each of the individual pixels. Another tool to help distinguish individual pixels is the Show Grid option, which can be disabled or enabled using the Options Show Pixel Grid in the context menu or by selecting the Grid button in the toolbar. This shows a rectangular grid around each pixel when you zoom in past a certain threshold, but as you zoom out, at a certain point, the grid just disappears. Your computer monitor has a 1:1 pixel aspect, which means that the pixels are perfectly square. Pictures from digital cameras, HDTV, and most scanned film images also use square pixels. Unfortunately, NTSC and PAL both use non-square pixels, as do anamorphic film formats. For example, this NTSC D1 image uses a pixel aspect of 0.9:1, meaning that the pixels are slightly taller than they are wide. To ensure that the image is not stretched or squashed, the display view automatically compensates for images with non-square pixel aspects by stretching the image slightly. To prevent this from slowing down interactive performance too much, a fairly low-quality scaling algorithm is used. Occasionally, it may seem as if there is aliasing on the edges of high-contrast areas in the image as a result of this. If we click on the 1:1 button, you override the aspect correction, viewing the stretched but accurate pixels. This is often used to confirm that aliasing in the image is not caused by the aspect correction before applying corrective measures. For example, if you look along the edge of the sphere here, you can see little steps which are caused by this aspect correction. When I click on the 1:1, those go away. That tells me that those were caused by the aspect correction. If a tool provides many controls, or if there are several controls in the exact same location, it can be hard to determine which control will be activated when you click and select on the controls. For example, if we select both merges and the polyline, we'll discover they have center controls at 0.5. To select a specific control, we could use the Tab key to cycle between controls in the view, or we could click on the little arrow to the far right of the Display View toolbar, and this will display a list of all of the controls which are currently active in the view. So if I wanted to select the center for the logo merge, all I would have to do is click on that menu option, and now I would know that when I clicked on the center, that would be the merge that moved. There are 7 mask buttons in the Display View toolbar. Clicking on any of these buttons will add a mask of the specified type to the composite. If no tools are selected, then the mask is added to the flow unconnected. If a tool is active, however, for example this text tool, then the mask is connected to the tool's effects mask input, as you see here. Note that the viewed tool is irrelevant. The mask is added to the selected tool. See, our text tool is in viewed neither display, but if we click on the button, we add a mask to the text tool anyway. Now the coordinate system used in Fusion places the origin, or 0, 0, at the bottom left corner of the image, right here. The axis then reads from 0 to 1 at the top of the image, for the y-axis, and 0 to 1 on the right side of the image for the x-axis. This means that the center of the image is found at 0.5, 0.5. Now by avoiding using the pixels directly for the coordinate system, Fusion ensures that replacing a 2K image with a 1K image produces exactly the same results. To discover the exact color and location of the pixel under the mouse pointer, look in the status bar at the very bottom of the screen. This will show the X and the Y positions, both in the Fusion's native coordinate system, as well as in the raw pixels. So for example, the mouse pointer currently is at position 0.47531 for the x-axis, but pixel 342. We can also see the colors for red, green, blue, and alpha. And if your display is wide enough, you'll also see the Z buffer there. Now this concludes the Display View Basics chapter. An advanced video covering additional topics may be available from the Eyeon website.